behavior depends on the nature of the monomers in the box and the groups that are attached to monomers, and this allows for the variety of functions and also stability, because we don't need the vehicle to be stable at all the conditions. We need it to collapse under certain conditions. So some groups may be unmodified, and we're talking about natural polysaccharides, so they can be also modified, synthesized, or semi-natural polysaccharides. I already mentioned modifications are used to improve the qualities of the delivery vehicles. Used often as coatings for encapsulation the probiotic microorganisms based on the electrophage, and they can be separated into several categories: anionic, cationic, non-ionic, amphoteric, etc. So some examples, specific Santamcam, and again, note for myself, we also use the thermogels produced by Xanthomonas capacitrins. You can see the example here. Anionic microbial polysaccharide with a disaccharide backbone and trisaccharide side chain. You can see here the backbone and the side chain, soluble in water, able to hydrate in cold water, suited to plastic behavior, so-called, and stable over the wide range of pH and temperatures. So this is a really very good substance to protect microorganisms in the harsh environment. GIAN is another example of the polysaccharide used in coatings. So it's a relatively high weight polysaccharide from the algae, used as thickening agent in the food industry as a challenge agent. Forms thermoreversible gels, depends on the temperature, so it can go in different stages. And probiotics can be formulated into these kind of gels, but we have to keep in mind that these gels will be brittle, so additional protection may be required to keep them stable and not to be damaged. Starch, everybody knows starch, so we'll not stay long on that. Plant polysaccharides consist of alpha-D glucose units linked to glycolic bonds, and we have linear and branch structures, amylose and packing. And I don't think we need to say much about it, because starch is perhaps the most studied type of the vehicle for the delivery of microorganisms and bioactive substances. We didn't mention lipids here, but lipids can be used and are used in a variety of coatings. And kind of a very simplified scheme of the preparation of lipid membrane coated microorganisms by interfacial supramolecular self-assembly. Lipid solution, calcium, microorganism, vortex, and basically you have the coating membrane on the surface of the microbial cell. Very simple, very straightforward method. Okay, so what do we have here? Heterogeneous groups of molecules. We have fat, fatty acids, waxes, phospholipids, etc. They can be used as edible molecules. They will work by blocking the transport of moisture due to the relatively low polarity. The negative things about it, fragility, and they need to be blended with other agents such as polysaccharides, proteins, and that has to be done to improve the chemical and chemical characteristics of the delivery vehicle. Changing the gears, going to talk briefly about spray drying. And I think this is the oldest method. Was the first spray dryer constructed in 1878. Just a little bit of history. Commonly used for food ingredients. Very effective, very economically very effective method in a sense of delivery by additives that are incorporated through spray drying. The drawback, low survivability during drying and storage instability, but these can be dealt with, number one. Number two, so the microorganisms can be treated. It's not that good for strict anaerobes. It's good for microfields, obviously, for the spore formers. The encapsulation agents used, gelatines with a good protection acid environment, so we can use them to pass through the stomach. But the temperature needs to be carefully selected for these kind of structures. The gums, the modified starch, dextrins, non-gelling proteins, cellulose, acetylmalate, which is also effective in the acidic environments, and of course modified starch. Now, I mentioned that some of these delivery systems can protect really well from oxygen and carbon dioxide, and I already mentioned bifidus, so we have here an example with bifidobacteria that can be really protected with the assistance of the modified starch. Spray drying, just to give an example, schematic presentation of the picture, liquid mixture atomized in a vessel with the single fluid nose, two fluid nose or spinning wheel, and then the solvent is evaporated with the assistance of the hot air or some other inert gas. So it's really a very straightforward process. And some examples of the microorganisms being encapsulating during spray drying, and of course you can see bifida and starch was used. Bifida longa, bifida lactis against starch was used. Arabic, casting was used for bifida lactis and lactobacillus, and of course our beloved prognosis here, Arabic, and many other can be used for these purposes. Schematic diagram of most commonly used fluid-bed enclosures, and they can be either top sprayers or bottom sprayers. And so, between them is, the only mechanical difference, perhaps, will be the most appropriate way to say it, is the dilation, either from the top or from the bottom. And the bottom one is useful for agglomeration or granulation, and the bottom delivery is most suitable for large-scale coatings for the formation of the films, these kind of applications. Some examples of successful use of bottom spray technology, that is from Institute Roselle, Lalemant. I mentioned them on numerous occasions, especially talking about the vaginal probiotics, if I'm not mistaken, to mention that I think, to the best of my recollection, I may be wrong, but I think Institute Roselle and Lalemant were, if not the first, one of the first who suggested to incorporate together the probiotic and prebiotic in one formulation for the vaginal effective action. So, control and the bacilli that are formulated using the bottom spray technology. And we can see that, survival rate, and, the heat was applied, 50 degrees C, so it's not really lethal, but relatively high temperature are comfortable for the microorganisms, 100% survival for the formulated, and down to 20% in 7 hours for the non-formulated. Resistance to acidity, and again, where can we see this acidic environment? Can be, for instance, in the stomach, vaginal vaginal acids when the pH drops down significantly, even lower than the normal vaginal environment. I'll give you an example. All right, and again, we have the initial counts and the survival after 1 hour pH 1.5. And so we see with a control can drop from 10 to the 11 to about 10 to the 6. In the case of the protected, around 5 times 10 to the 10, down about 1 log. So really, I think it's a decent survivability of the protected fermentation. And when we look at spraying technology, fluid bed coating of freeze-dried probiotics, slow lipids, that's exactly what was used by the company in this example. And you can see, like, the inside of this, where you can probably see a probiotic and microorganisms, lactobacilli, being trapped in the delivery vehicle, in the delivery system. Then cons of the spray drying, and this is where we have the size of the particle between 5 and 20 micrometers. Many of them, several of them, you have the handout, so you can study them on your own. But I highlighted some from my